What's going on? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to do a video ranking on how dominant I think each UFC champion is going to be over their title reign, or how dominant they've been already. How good do I think that these fighters are going to really be over their UFC division? But if you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like and subscribe. That is the best way to show support on this channel. While you're down there, please leave a turn on the notifications as well so you get notified whenever I make UFC content. And let's get right into the video. Okay, so I want to start off by explaining what I'm talking about. And when I talk about dominance, it's perceived dominance in my opinion. You look at the difference between someone like Dricus du Plessis, who is really counting out in their next fight against Israel Adesanya, versus someone like Islam Makhachev, who is super dominant and how good they are in their specific category. So I just wanted to lay that out before I go talk about these champions. But the first champion I do want to talk about is Dricus du Plessis. And I do think that Dricus is going to have a really hard time in the UFC middleweight division with some of these different strikers out there. I think that someone like Israel Adesanya is going to have a very good time beating him. I do think someone also like Sean Strickland, I think, did beat him that first time. And I ultimately think that Dricus du Plessis is going to need to rely on more than just his IQ to get the job done in these next upcoming fights. Now, not saying that Dricus du Plessis isn't a good fighter, because Dricus is a very good fighter and a very interesting stylistic matchup for a lot of different opponents, but seeing that Dricus has only won the belt, and that was in a razor close fight, and is probably not going to be the favorite in a lot of these fights, that's why I have Dricus at number 9 on my most dominant list, and the least dominant of all the champions. At number 8, I have Alexandre Pantoja. And Pantoja, you might think, is crazy because he won a fight. He beat Brandon Moreno. He defended against Royval, and then he just defended against Steve Erceg. But the fight against Steve Erceg was very one-sided in my opinion, and I thought Erceg won that fight. And then I didn't even think Pantoja won the belt. I thought Moreno defended it, but still, I truly think that this fight, Alexandre Pantoja, is gonna lose his belt sometime very soon. You look at the fighters in that division: Manel Kape coming up, Mohamed Mokaev possibly, Amir Albazi. Some of these fighters are going to be able to strip Pantoja of that belt, and I think he's going to lose it sooner rather than later in the UFC flyweight division. Okay, and then I have Sean O'Malley at number 7. Sean O'Malley is an amazing fighter, but as I've always said, he's a one-dimensional striker, and there's nothing wrong with that because of how good he is in that one aspect of his game, respectively. Now, Sean O'Malley just needs to be able to defend the takedowns, and the only problem with the bantamweight division is there's a lot of people who can take him down. You look at Corey Sandhagen, you look at Merab Dvalishvili, you look at Henry Cejudo, you look at Peter Yan, who he fought, who took him down a lot. There's a lot of fighters in that division who can take him down, and I'm really worried that Sean O'Malley is going to get in one of those fights and not be able to get up and get striking. Like I've said, his matchup with Chito Vera in his first title defense, which was an absolute masterclass from Sean, was a very favorable fight for O'Malley because we all knew that Chito was not going to go take down O'Malley. But I wanted to have O'Malley at number 7 on this list because I think he does have a chance to be very dominant in his title reign, but it's going to revolve around the striking and him not getting taken down, which is something that you cannot promise in any single fight. At number 6, I have Jon Jones, and the reason I have Jon Jones is because of who he beat in his last fight, and that is Ciryl Gane, and then I have him defending against Stipe Miocic and possibly retiring. If you look at those two people, for Jon Jones' style, Ciryl Gane was probably the easiest fighter in the UFC heavyweight division to deal with. I could name a bunch of different fighters that would have been harder for Jon Jones to deal with, but Ciryl Gane has such a lack of wrestling knowledge and ability to where that Jon Jones was just able to go over there, take him down, sit on him, and quote-unquote submit him, but I think it was just Gane didn't want to be in there. But truly, I think Jon Jones' career is super dominant, but you look at his heavyweight reign, and that's all we're talking about. I'm not talking about his light heavyweight reign. It's going to be short, I think, and I think if he goes up against someone like Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira, there is a chance that he loses, and I do think that Tom Aspinall is the future of the UFC heavyweight division, and I think especially versus Aspinall, Jon Jones is going to have a very hard time with that fight, and truly, I just don't see that Jon Jones' title reign lasts long, or if he does fight Aspinall, he's going to win that fight. At number 5, I have Ilia Topuria, and the only reason I have Ilia Topuria this low, I would have him up at number 2, but Ilia Topuria just defended the belt, or he just got the belt and he has not defended it yet. So we don't know how good he is going to be in defending the belt. And he's got one really hard matchup in front of him, and that is to Max Holloway. Max Holloway is one of the best fighters, as we know, in the UFC featherweight division, but Ilia Topuria is going to be able to strike with him. He's going to be able to grapple with him and do a lot of different things in that UFC featherweight division. I think Ilia is going to perceive dominance over this division. I think he beats everyone in this division, possibly except Max Holloway, because of how good Max Holloway's chin is, how good of a striker he is, and of how good all around Max Holloway is in that UFC featherweight division. I think that is easily the hardest matchup for Ilia Topuria, and if he gets through Max Holloway, his title reign is going to be very dominant, and that's why I have Ilia Topuria at number 5. I would rank him higher, but I just don't know how dominant he's going to be, except for this Max Holloway fight, and he just captured the belt. And then next, I have Tom Aspinall, and Tom Aspinall at number 4 is someone who I think is going to be a really long reigning champion. You look at how fast Tom Aspinall is, how big he is for the UFC heavyweight division, which is crazy because he's about 6'5", 260 pounds, and he moves like a UFC lightweight, and he's so smart in every single category on his feet. And that is something that is super valuable for in the UFC. Just being able to be super knowledgeable, super just adamant and cerebral in every little thing that you do. It's going to allow Tom Aspinall to see over the competition and just allow him to be a lot more, thoughtful and thinking in that UFC heavyweight division. The other reason I think he's going to be really dominant is that division is a lot less compact than a lot of these other divisions. Like you look at bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight; these are super stacked division. Where at the UFC heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall has fought a lot of these guys and beat them. The only people he's really not fought, he hasn't fought Cyril Gane, which I think he smokes, and I think he hasn't fought John Jones, which is a hard fight, but John Jones might retire before then. Ultimately, I think Tom Aspinall beats anyone in the UFC heavyweight division handily except John Jones, and I think that's why I have him at number 4 on this list. At number 3 on the list, I have Alex Pereira, and the reason I have Alex Pereira at number 3 on the list is because of his takedown ability and his lack of wrestling. If Alex gets taken down by someone like Magomed Ankalaev, he could get held there. If he fights John Jones, he's going to get sat on. If he fights Tom Aspinall, he's going to get sat on. And that is something that's going to really limit his ability to be a champion for a long time. And that is something that's kind of like Sean O'Malley, but Alex Pereira has that power that Sean O'Malley doesn't have, to where, yes, Sean O'Malley has a lot of knockout power, but Pereira touches you when you go bye-bye. And that is the thing that allows Pereira to be so good in these categories, in these fights, is because one shot and one mistake from your opponent is all it takes. You look at the Jamal Hill fight, and yes, I understand that was there was a lot more things that go into that, but it was really, really, really hard for Jamal Hill to get anything going, and one mistake led to the entire fight being over, and that is why I have Alex Pereira at number 3. If he developed a takedown game to be just comparable to the competition, he would easily be number 1 because of how good that kickboxing ability is. At number 2 most dominant champions, I have Leon Edwards, and you look at Leon Edwards' eco-friendly style, and what I mean by that, he is so conservative in all of his movements. He is so good. He fights on autopilot every single time he does. He's one of the most impressive champions in my opinion. I think he's someone who is so well-rounded. A lot of these fighters are going to have a really hard time dealing with him. The only fighter who I could see beating Leon Edwards is Shavkat Rakhmonov, and even though I've said that I think Shavkat beats him, I'm not so sure about that right now after thinking about it a little bit more. Leon Edwards' takedown defense is so good. His striking is some of the best in the UFC, right behind Alex Pereira, and he is so intelligent in every little thing that he does. I think Leon Edwards is going to have a title reign to where he possibly captures the second belt, and I think he could possibly beat Islam Makhachev at welterweight because of how big he is for that division. He's got an amazing frame, he's got an amazing IQ, he's got amazing skills, and I think that these skills and everything that he has is going to propel him to be one of the most dominant champions that there are. And number 1, without a surprise, I have Islam Makhachev, easily the most dominant champion that the UFC has right now. You look at his fight with Dustin Poirier, which, yes, that was an amazing fight, but that 5th round where he got the ankle pick into the Darce was an absolutely amazing finish. You look at these other fights that Volkanovski finished inside 3 minutes. The first Volk fight, which was a very hard fight, and the domination over Charles Oliveira are all signs of to why Islam is such a dominant champion. Islam has every single ability that you could ask for. He's got amazing wrestling, amazing jiu-jitsu, amazing sambo, amazing Muay Thai, amazing kickboxing, He's an amazing striker, and he's got an amazing technical IQ that it never fails him. Islam Makhachev is someone who is so intelligent in the UFC game, and I think that he is going to be easily the most dominant champion that there is. I think he cleans out the UFC lightweight division. I think he moves up to welterweight, and he could 100% become the welterweight champion. That fight with Leon Edwards is a very hard fight, but Islam Makhachev is one of the most gifted fighters the sport has ever seen, and I think Islam Makhachev is easily the most dominant champion right now. Thank you guys so much for watching my how dominant are each UFC champions breakdown. If you enjoy the content and you agree with my list or disagree with my list, please leave a comment down below. I want to hear what everyone has to say about the list. Who do you think is more dominant, and who do you think is going to lose their belt first? Please, while you're down there, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do subscribe, turn on the post notifications as well so you get notified whenever I release UFC content or news. Please, thank you guys for enjoying the video, and stay tuned for more UFC content and news.